like regulation and Bitcoin, the decentralization, will fight each other till the death. And ultimately, Bitcoin will win because it's all about what you use. As a consumer, you have the power.
Biggs and Boggs.
Sorry to hear about that. Oh. Oh. Hey, folks. Welcome back to your Future Hand with Biggs and Boggs. I'm Marty Boggs.
And I'm Julian Biggs.
And we got Spencer on sound and screens.
Spencer.
Thanks for joining us today, folks. We like to come at you about once a week or so and talk about some subjects that we believe will benefit your future hands. So without further ado, smash the like button. I think they moved it. It's over here now. And let's get right into it. What are we up to today? And how can we plan for tomorrow? Julian.
Thanks, Marty. Today, again, we're going to talk about cold storage and where you can safely put your money. We're going to talk about the difference between Bitcoin and crypto. These are two different things. There's a lot of things going on in the market. FTX going insolvent and, potentially hacking his own customers, taking this $900 million. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what's going on. But, of course, we're going to get into it with a market scope first.
Markets go.
Markets go. Okay, so...
You're going to stop doing that.
Right. Stop doing that. Today, we are looking at the Bitcoin daily. I want to look at the daily. We traded in that range in the last green box that I had between 18K and the top of that we hit there. Actually that range was just about 21.5 to 21.8. Okay, hang on. What's that? So... of course, we are looking at the Bitcoin daily. I wanted to look at the daily today because we were bouncing around in these ranges in between these lines that I've had drawn for some time. So I like to use horizontal lines and not a lot of these trend lines. For this reason, because it's always going to seem to find its past points of support and resistance, and these are proving to be true again. So again, we came down, hit the 17.2 that I had marked for some time. So we hit that, bounced all the way back to the 18.2, which was a nice trade, and then came all the way down to the bottom line here at 15.5, approximately 15.5. And at the time of filming this video, we're about 16.5. So now I feel like we've entered this lower range. And we've bottomed out the RSI. If we bring that back, we can see that we've bottomed out the RSI into oversold territories and now potentially going to do another lick into the oversold area again before anything happens. So I do think we're just going to float around in this range here for quite some time. We're looking at the end of this range going from here until almost January. So we could see a move out of this box. But with what's going on in the markets right now, the move could be down to this bottom line I've also had drawn for some time. It's $10,000. So a lot of things going on, and a lot of this is going to be tied to... Marty's got something. This FTX.
Yeah, we told you this was going to happen. It's been 1 year.
Oh.
Happy 1 year.
That's the other thing we need to bring up.
Yeah.
It has been 1 year.
1 year, folks.
Since we've been filming this podcast. It's been a year that we've been coming to you. And actually 1 year ago was also the all-time high in crypto. So we were skeptical, and this is why we've always been pushing the dollar cost average and never throwing all your eggs into one basket.
Never.
What happened with FTX this week is obviously why the markets crashed. The contagion is now flooded over into other crypto exchanges. So FTX, being one of the biggest exchanges in this industry, had a valuation of it was $32 billion, I think, was their highest valuation in January. And now it's gone to zero. Sam Bankman.
The reason they had that number because they had FTT.
Yes.
FTT is a token that they created on their exchange to use for less fees. You could switch your funds into FTT and it'd be easier to transfer them throughout the app for less fees. So they created FTT, gave it a use case, and then obviously owned the majority of the supply, probably 90% or whatever, and only let 10% of the rest of the supply out to the public to use on the exchange. And so meanwhile, as people are buying up this 10% and they're holding onto the 90% and it's gaining value, they are now claiming that they can sell all of that for that amount of money, right? Because like you just said, they had a certain 32 billion or whatever it was. That was because they valued at FTT valued at whatever it was, $25 or whatever it was, and they owned all of it. So that's where that value came. It literally came from nowhere. It came from something that they just invented. And that's why we're seeing stuff like this happen to things like FTX, because it was never any value there to begin with. It just wasn't there. So now in the bear market...
He actually made his money through arbitrage trading too, which is basically pulling money from nothing. He's a crook from the beginning. So there's a this is all going to tie into what we push here. And what we push here is dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, and we push cold storage. We push self-custody, self-custodianship of your funds, of your keys, of your crypto, so that these things can't happen to you, right? Now, there was mass institutional investors involved with FTX as well. So a lot of people got hurt. I think it was like $10 billion.
Huge commercial. They had FTX Arena. All the umpires in baseball were all sponsored by FTX. Like he was massive, but it was all from nowhere. It was from money that he just wrote down and said that he had. And that's it.
This is also why we talk about the difference between Bitcoin and crypto, because they really are two different things, and you might not think that they are, but Bitcoin and crypto are two totally different things, because Bitcoin, Satoshi made a digital commodity with no issuer. Okay, so there's no CEO, there's no nobody. It's just it's a digital commodity controlled by nobody with no issuer, right? Whereas everything else is susceptible to human emotion and greed,
including Ethereum.
Greed being the biggest one. Ethereum being the big another one. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that right now.
That's for another episode.
One is just for the ecosystem as a whole. Okay, so this is now obviously created a mass contagion effect where people are scared and skeptical of crypto and everything else, and they should be. But the other thing this points out is the SEC's failure to freaking get some regulation
to do their job. That's their job.
So they've been beating around the bush for 2-3 years.
Oh, we're looking at XRP.
Crypto regulation and fucking around
with
XRP.
Yeah.
But
which is potentially
having more meetings with this guy.
Oh,
let's go back to this screen.
To mention.
So here's the guy that ripped you. Here's the guy that ripped all these guys off. Okay, and this is just one picture of his face where he's actually not even looking that bad. And to me, I want to punch this guy in the face just looking at him. Whack! Like, I would never have trusted this guy from the beginning. And I'm sorry to say, but like, there's a strong tie between in my opinion, physical strength and mental strength, right? And it's like somebody who like carries himself like that, who can't even like get himself together. You know what I mean? To carry himself
at all. He hasn't showered.
You know what I mean? Like that's what he looks like. He doesn't look like he just rolled out of bed and he hasn't showered for a week. It's like, okay, you've been innovating all this stuff, whatever. But like, I don't know how everybody had so much trust in him. So Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC and regulations, said that this guy was the adult in the room of crypto. This guy was in...
You know why? Because he also funded a lot of their stuff, including...
Of course, they were all tied together.
Exactly. He funded over $40 million he's put on either the Democrats or the both the Republicans, actually Democrats and Republicans. So he's funding both sides of the election, or both sides of...
So this isn't just
politics.
It's not just crypto.
It's so corrupt. Yeah, that's just it.
People think crypto's a scam and a Ponzi scheme. Well, it's like this guy proves that some of it is.
Well, no, Bitcoin or crypto is exposing that the world is a Ponzi scheme.
Because now we can see that somebody, the head of SEC or whatever, the chairman of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's totally hoodwinked by this crook.
Yeah.
Right? And like this guy was the adult in the room, and he was in meetings all the time talking about how he was, all for the people, and this was going to be benefiting the world and everything else. So I want to talk about that intent versus impact.
Yeah.
Right? And his intent may have been good, but he got caught doing shit he shouldn't have been done.
Yeah.
And the market crashed, so he's fucked.
Well, which is funny because he just got caught, but he was probably in on it with a whole group of other people. So, and he's the one that's getting drilled, right?
Yeah.
So think about who threw him under the bus.
He's the scapegoat.
Exactly,
for sure.
right?
So his intentions may have been good, but this shows you how corrupt the rest of the system was, because the markets got fucking crashed. I think he was in with the corruption. I think as soon as he got in there, he's like the prospect. Yeah, the prospect.
He was the prospect, right? Yeah. And so they're like, yeah, come on in. And so he was, basically he just got shot. They did the job. Yeah. And everybody took their money, and he got shot.
Yeah. And now, I don't know. I've got trust issues from far before crypto. So, maybe that's why I was a little skeptical of that guy from the beginning. But like, I don't know. And, based on like, don't judge a book by its cover. But I did judge that book by its cover, and I was fucking right. Like, the guy's a weasel. He screams weasel to me.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's definitely a weasel.
And
Randall vibes.
Right?
Yeah.
Randall vibes. Yeah. But Bitcoin, so we want to understand that Bitcoin, it's not a token, it's not a security. Mm-hmm. It's not like these other things that are susceptible to emotion that can be printed and have more of.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is a capped digital commodity with no issuer, insusceptible to human emotion and greed and things like that.
And what we just saw in that crash was literally a whale fight. CZ and SBF whale fight.
And but he exposed him for being a weasel. And CZ's, you know, and it's funny because everyone last year said get out of Binance, and I don't understand. Like Binance is. It's where it's at. It's all Binance is what I use. It's my trading exchange of choice, and it's going to end up on top. And we can see that
it's
here.
On top. I don't think it's ever getting knocked off. If it does, then we got. But the thing is that this now exposes a whole lot of shit. So it's going to force regulators to look at this.
But that's a good thing.
Because we have people like Tom Brady losing billions or millions or whatever, right? So now, Tom got hurt. We got to make sure that Tom's okay.
Fucking Jason Bourne there, Matt Damon, he's attached to crypto.com too. So, and it's like, will celebrities continue to push cryptos when they're burning people?
Only if regulators
thanks a lot,
come
Matt
in.
Damon.
Yeah, only if regulators come in and start doing something about it. And now that our hometown heroes, so to speak, or whatever, have been hurt, then they're gonna come. They're gonna have to come in and do stuff because so many people rally in the back of their truck and be like, Tom Brady, Tom Brady.
So this is good if they expedite regulation into this ecosystem. You know, that's potentially bad, potentially good for end users, because really what we want is decentralized finance. And you're still going to get that with Bitcoin, in my opinion. Like, sovereignty lies in Bitcoin, the freedom lies in Bitcoin, and that's just it. That's just it. Because
the thing is if we
it's got no one running it, there's no one end running it.
If we see this regulation,
hang on one sec. SEC is out there to protect users, right?
Yeah.
Protect the end users, protect the investors, and make sure they don't get fucking burned. Okay. Well, the head of the SEC was totally involved and hoodwinked by this freaking ding dong SBF, and he continues to reject Bitcoin ETFs and all these things that want to go into the system that would actually benefit investors and benefit fucking people. So people need to understand that they're not looking at your best. Yeah, exactly. They're not looking at your best interest, though. They're looking at the best interest of the people who created the monetary policy that's in front now.
Exactly.
Right? So we need to realize that. And that's why Bitcoin is the fucking
So ultimately what we're going to see is regulators are going to come in. They're going to start to look at things. Things are going to probably continue to go down probably for a little bit, even over the next year. I think 2023 is probably going to be a rough year for investors. Unless you're, a good quick trader. Trading's, you can always make money on a short. But the thing is that in the long term, we're going to see a lot of stocks and crypto and a lot of stuff just taper out because people are going to have to start living off of these incomes because it's going to be tough times for 2023. At least that's what they say. Personally, what is it? Feast up. This is easy stuff, right? Like, I'm going to be personally scooping up a lot of this stuff, DCAing, right? We're like we always say, but I'm going to probably start DCAing into Amazon, Apple as well, as it's on its way down, and like S&P 500, like the group tech stock stuff like that. Like, so this is exactly what's happening right now is exactly what happened in 2018 and the ICO crash. Exactly what happened in 2000, I guess, with the dot-com bubble, where all these major tech companies crashed 90%. But what happened after that? What happened after the dot-com bubble? We now rely on the internet for everything. And what happens first is a major shakeout. This is how the market works. Massive shakeout to get everybody scared, to that word that you said, contagious or contagion, right? It scares everybody out. It's literally just a shakeout. Meanwhile, the big wigs, the whales, are scooping it all up while the little people run for the fences, right? So I personally am going to continue to DCA and potentially find some more side hustles, find some more income so that I can start to put even more money into this kind of stuff. Because as it goes down and as we buy more, it's just that's how you do it.
Yeah, you want to benefit your future hand, spend some more of your own time figuring out ways that you can make income to put into assets that will.
Yeah, because we all know what happened after the dot-com bubble.
So you brought up the S&P 500.
And blockchain technology is what's happening right now. This is what's getting crushed, blockchain technology. And we know that blockchain technology is the future.
It's not even getting crushed, it's being impeded. So they need to slow it down, because if they don't slow it down and get their way into it first and slowly erode the monetary policy that we have now, it'll just fucking detonate everything. They can't let this thing explode.
Decentralization will put them all out of a job,
they
right?
Can't
so they
let
don't
this
have
thing
any
explode.
With Bitcoin, if everybody uses Bitcoin, everybody's equal. There's no SEC that's going to be higher than you that can make a decision for you. There's not going to be any government that's higher than you that can make a decision for you. Everybody is completely decentralized. We all talk and we all communicate on apps and vote on things on the blockchain that need to be discussed and talked about and whatever decided upon.
Yeah.
And that's how the society works, as everybody as an equal, right? Nobody's higher or lower. So this is what's going to happen.
You brought up the S&P.
They're just trying to slow it down, like you said.
Yeah, they have to slow it down. That's
and
the only thing they can do is slow progress.
Their days are done.
You can't stop progress, but you can slow it down. Like Bitcoin's already out there, blockchain's already out there, progress is happening. All they can do is slow it down and try to keep the US dollar going as long as they can.
Exactly.
So you brought up the S&P 500. We want to bring this up. So this is the SPX, the S&P 500. And this is kind of what drives literally all global markets.
Well, it's a combination stock of 500 assets all put into one for an average easy open ETF.
Yes.
Supposed to make it easy for traders.
For exposure to big. Yeah, exactly. So I do believe that this is going to steer the market. And obviously right now with everything else kind of tanking, you can see that last week that we had a little bit of a recovery on the S&P 500. So things, took a little bit of a dive in the crypto market, and people kind of, they poured out of crypto, and we can see that over the last couple of days at the end of last week, we actually had a little uptick and even above 37. So up to 39 here, and we're at the top of this next little zone, next resistance line that I have drawn anyway. So I do believe that another crash is coming. I personally believe that another crash is coming to the SPX. I don't know when. We could keep traveling up and hit this 42 range, 44 range, but I don't know.
Just like we said before, they overdid it on the way up. They're going to overdo it on the way down, right? So about now is when things should start to level out, but they're not aware of that yet. It hasn't hit them.
So I still think the capitulation is coming. So, what's the top of that? 4,200 there, maybe 41 on the S&P 500. And I do think another crash is coming to that market as well. So that's what I'm personally waiting for right now, is the bottom for this S&P 500. So we had one good consumer price index came out. So they released the numbers for inflation and things like that for October just a few days ago at the end of the week. And it was down a little bit, so we did have a little bit of a softer CPI number coming through, and that's why we saw
maybe a round off change in direction.
Exactly, but that's why we saw a little bit of a move up in these markets. So we saw a little increase in the Nasdaq and saw a little increase in the S&P and things like that. So. But do you think that they're going to have another interest rate hike? Is there going to be a higher inflation moving forward? So it's like,
quickly pull up the Dixie, because the Dixie actually has been going down the last week or so.
Yeah, because
which is very interesting.
Well, and that's because the CPIs, so the inflation rates and the interest rates stayed the same and the inflation number was down. So people put money in. Money went back into
the stock market,
which with the US dollar would come down naturally from that.
Right.
So,
and also the US dollar broke out of its ascending channel that we've been in for the last year, which is pretty nutty, by the way. A year to the date at the time of filming this video was an all-time high for a lot of the stocks, including Bitcoin.
Oh yeah,
and now we are
bull running. Fucking
right.
Long,
exactly.
long time.
And now we are basically, this is a lot of, I'm not saying bottom. I'll say
US
bottom.
There's a US dollar.
This is basically indicating that the bottom is very near, if not in, but like you said, one more crash. But I think honestly, it might not be as much of a crash, as much of just a retest of that 15, that 15 level, which is the 90% down from all-time high. Or whatever,
I don't know. I'm going to continue to DCA as I always have. I did take a few orders out that I'm glad I did, because now I'm getting some chances at some lower prices, because I saw that coming. So here we got the US dollar too. So it is coming down to 106. So we did see some upticks in the
So this could just very well indicate that we're not seeing as much of a bounce in stock as much as just people selling off the US dollar to put it back into the stock market, right?
It doesn't matter where you have your money. Like, your money's always at risk. It's at risk in the bank. They could shut it down. And especially if we go to digital currency. So if we go to central bank, digital currency, CBDCs, if we go to that, like they can literally put an expiration date to the money that you have. If you don't spend it, they can freeze it. They can do this. They can do that. The banks can do anything they want to your money, and they always have been able to. And that's been proven over the last couple of years as well. And now we're seeing that they can do that in crypto. They can freeze withdrawals, they can freeze all this, they can freeze all that.
Just to point it out, like if everybody went and pulled all their money out of the bank, like just like they have on all these crypto exchanges,
same with gold and all that
anything.
shit.
Like if everybody went and withdrawal, then it forces them to, because the bank is allowed to loan up to 90% of what you give it. So if I gave the bank $1,000, Julian would be allowed to come in and ask for a loan, and they could give him $900 of my money. And then what if I come back and ask for that $1,000 the next day? So that the same thing. That's just how the system works. Leverage, interest. It's all fake money. All of it's made up. Nothing is real.
except for Bitcoin.
Except for Bitcoin.
And people don't think it is because it's made of fairy farts or whatever the hell the case may be. But
as long as we have the internet.
Bitcoin, as long as we have the internet, you're going to have Bitcoin. And the internet's not going anywhere because it's the only way that people make money these days. So the internet's not going anywhere. We know that. Your Bitcoin's not going to go anywhere. So if you buy Bitcoin and put it into cold storage on your Ledger Nano or whatever the hell the case may be, which is what you should be doing, because then you are literally the protector of your own value, and that is it. The bank's not involved. Nobody else is involved except for you. Okay? You can now take that anywhere in the world and convert it into any currency on an easy exchange like Binance. You can convert it into any currency, not pay any fees to the government of that country or to the government of your own country for transferring that money over. You just have sovereignty of yourself and your value anywhere that you go in the world. Okay?
And this is a major threat to the powers that be, right?
Of course it is.
And this is why we're seeing stuff like
that. But they can't stop it.
No.
That's why they have exposure into it, right? That's so.
There's no way they can stop it. There's no way they can try and regulate it. But like I was about to say there, as we were talking about that, is like regulation and Bitcoin, the decentralization, will fight each other till the death, and ultimately Bitcoin will win because it's all about what you use. As a consumer, you have the power. Whatever we do, they have to a company, like they have to do what we want them to do. That's how everything works, right? So ultimately, as this continues to roll out, people are just going to use Bitcoin because it's easier. If you're sending money across the world or whatever, or you're using Bitcoin, people nowadays are realizing how easy and fast it is to use crypto.
It is the most efficient source of value that has ever existed, ever.
So I have been having some issues with my bank app lately, and it's been pissing me off. Like, it's like, come on, let me deposit a check. I can't even deposit a check that it works fine, no problem. Like, if I go and use my crypto, it takes me literally like I was using Cosmos the other day, literally takes 15 seconds to send money from one place to the next, and now it's in an account where I'm holding it. Like it's once you start using crypto, you will, like, I hate the banks. I hate it. Every time I have to use the bank, it pisses me off because their technology's behind. They're not. Everything is just as fake and made up and numbers on a screen as crypto. So it's the exact same in that boat. But they just don't know what they're doing. They're like, their software. The people that are doing their apps, engineering their software are obviously third party, and these people are the people that are like working on crypto. Why would they make your bank app work as well as what they are working on? They're not going to spend the time to do that. They're like, they'll take your money, but no, you're not going to. Look at the government website, for instance. It's 1990, like before the fucking internet was even invented. That's what the government website looks like, right? And then start using crypto and realizing how much more advanced, how much easier, better, secure, faster, transparent, so many things it is than the system that we use today, and you will never go back.
Yeah, you won't. You just got to, dive in. You got to. But Bitcoin and self-custody, I'm going to just continue to push that. And what's happened in the market this week is a prime example of why not to trust anybody that's susceptible to human emotion with your funds. It's the same with the bank. They just were able to hide it. And at crypto, they can't hide it.
Exactly.
And that's the beautiful thing. That's why, as shitty as this is for the people who lost in that $10 billion, and that's really fucking awful, this is a good thing for crypto. It's a good thing for the ecosystem. It's a good thing for people to see that what we're really going for here is decentralization and self-sovereignty. So,
and believe it or not, this is a good thing. I actually want to talk about one more thing. But believe it or not, this is a very good day for crypto and actually the entire human race, because, like you just said, we're seeing people being exposed for fraud on the blockchain. That's why we know this is happening. CZ started the tweet. He noticed what was going on. He could see it in in the chain with on-chain analysis. He tweeted it out, and everybody started looking at it, and everyone said, "Yep, you're right. There it is, right there, red flag." Boom. Then you have this massive crash. Now, for instance, if any other the system that you use today, whether it be banking, government, any sort of thing, was on the blockchain and had full transparency, you know how fast everybody would run from it? Oh my goodness. Like if you knew exactly what they were doing and had proof right in front of you, like everybody knows, but they're too scared to say anything. But it's like, here we go. This is it. This is what happens in a world of leveraged, borrowed, fake money. Right?
People cheat for 10 grand.
Yeah.
You think they're not fucking cheating for the fucking shit they make?
It's all made up bullshit.
Yeah,
right. So now we're starting to see that Bitcoin is the king, and it will be. It's just a matter of time, not if, because either we all get wiped out and everything's gone, or Bitcoin is the future. Yeah. So plan for the future, because if you get wiped out, you don't have nothing to worry about.
If Bitcoin
anyway.
wins, we all win.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to point out,
we all fucking lose.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, we all live in a better future with a decentralized area where everybody's equal. That is idealistic. It's going to be a rocky road to get there, but that's what we're pushing for here on Biggs and Box. And so one thing that is going to change everything is the Stablecoin Transparency Act is something that just came up, and they're now starting to look at this in Congress and government and whatever else. But basically, this is the regulated act that major investors and governments and stuff like that institutions are waiting for, to basically what this would open a Bitcoin ETF potentially after the fact, but because the stable coin is, like you were talking, the digital dollar, right? And everybody hates using Western Union. Everybody hates using anything that has to do with the US dollar and transferring funds. So once there's a Stablecoin Transparency Act approved, then we will have USDCs, and then that's going to change the game, because once everybody's using USDCs, whether it is good or a bad thing in the long run, it's going to give Bitcoin more power. Yeah. So and that's going to skyrocket the price of Bitcoin, because it's going to be launched on the S&P 500. Basically, is probably where you'll see it.
And that's the other thing too. So we want to talk about that. Like, and if you want to get invested into other projects, great. But like, I personally, and it's like you might miss a few dollars here and there. If you really want to get greedy, you could invest into some of this, smaller cap, top 25 or something like that. But in my opinion, nothing's really going to happen until Bitcoin gets back to 35, 40K. You know what I mean? And that could be a long while. So yeah, I really think you're better off in only Bitcoin right now until things get back to a stable environment.
And Bitcoin will continue to be king. It will continue to be the most stable out of all the cryptos. And as you know, aside from the dollar, well, I was about to say aside from the stable coins that we have now, but we've already seen Luna lose its peg, in which Sam Bankman-Fried had a play in. He shorted it. He was part of the team that crushed it, and he was also in part of the team that crushed Celsius.
And but wonder why. He was very involved with a lot of the powers that be.
Exactly, right. So. He's been. It's funny because he's been funding the politicians with fake money. Yeah, it's so obvious. Yeah, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Oh man. But anyways, keep an eye out for that DCA into Bitcoin.
Until the fucking government stops taking funding from big corporations, we're in a bad place anyway.
Oh yeah, exactly. Right. There's no such thing as an actual government. Think about how much
money from animal agriculture goes to fucking the government. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and they're still
eat healthy, drink your milk.
Yeah, and they still can't build a website. Come on, man.
Anyway,
come on.
All right.
Well, you guys have yourself a fantastic day. We'll catch you on the next one. It's going to be 2 weeks from now, because I'm going to be somewhere else next week. So we'll talk to you then.
Going to be somewhere else.
Biggs and Bugs out.
Hang in there.
Peace. Holy fuck. Yeah, I wasn't going to tell him where I was going. So there's going to be somebody after me after this episode.